All right. Welcome to From the Couch Sports Talk Radio. It's Tuesday around Sports Roundtable. I'm here with Dave and Eric. How are you boys doing tonight?
Good, Sean. How are you?
Doing well. And we don't have anyone on yet. Okay. Well, David, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. We got people on. That's all right. Don't matter. We are all doing good. It is Wednesday. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, brother. A beautiful day.
There you go. All right.
5 degrees up here in the mountains. It's freaking nuts.
Yeah, it was definitely a hot one today, man. I did not move here for this. All right. So we'll go over a couple of quick news stories from the week. Eric, you'll probably want to comment on this first one about your cornerback. Cameron Sutton suspended 8 games for violating the NFL personal conduct policy stemming from a domestic violence incident back in March that she was just served a warrant for. What's the scoop on that, Eric?
Well deserved. Obviously he's trying to rehabilitate himself, and we'll see what happens there. But you commit a crime, and there's enough evidence when you commit the crime, you should do some time. I think 8 games is enough of a wake-up call to realize that the next time you'll probably be suspended indefinitely. I hope he gets his life together.
Yeah, Dave?
Yeah, I do need to chime in a little bit. I get players being suspended for these things, and they rightly should. But I think the problem, and I don't know the whole Cam Sutton story. I know he was released by Detroit when the allegations were made, and whether they're true or not, obviously they are enough that they were pressed charges and warrant was issued for his arrest, so on and so forth. I don't know what came of the outcome of that warrant. I don't know if the charges were dropped, not dropped. I don't know. But I will say that I think the NFL needs to do a better job of punishment being level across the board. From the standpoint of, allegations are what they are. There are certain players that allegations made against them, the NFL, whether they're star players or whatnot, they let them ride out and let the legal process play. And then there's other ones where the legal process isn't allowed to play out. And if you're quote unquote labeled not a superstar or, not a brand of the NFL, you're left to your own devices and we can just suspend you. Understand what I mean by that is if this was a Patrick Mahomes, if this was a Josh Allen, if this was a Lamar Jackson, they would never be suspended until trial was had and guilty or not guilty was said. And again, I don't know the Cam Sutton total story. I don't know if he pled guilty to something. I don't know that. If he did, then suspension is warranted. But I think the NFL really needs to let the legal process play out before they cast judgment on the player. Because, I just look at it as a guilty before proven innocent or vice versa. Eric, I don't know if you have anything to say about that. Like I said, I don't know the Cam Sutton situation all that well.
So I think if I remember right, the warrant went away, the felony went away, but he's got some sort of agreement that he has to do a bunch of counseling and some of the charges get dropped. So I mean, I think there was some sort of plea.
Okay.
I don't think it's ever appropriate for if when there comes to resolution, if there is involvement with a domestic dispute where you have an NFL caliber body man beating up on a woman under any circumstance. So there should be. I'm okay with laying the law down. I'm okay with certainly the descriptions of what happened are pretty bad. I'm okay with sending a message. Life is about redemption, right? So you get a chance to redeem. That's what our Lord and Savior died for. So ideally, he's not condemned for his life, but he needs to turn his life around and try to do the right thing.
Sure. But go ahead, John.
I was just going to end the segment and go to the next, but if there's
No,
something else.
you're fine. I was just going to say, Eric, to your point, whether allegations and whatnot, and I know that he entered like a diversion program where he's got to go and do certain things, but regardless, I'm glad in the aspect that the NFL waited until all that legal stuff was done. But I think to send a message, if that's your intent, is you either let the legal process play out for all and you treat them all the same. And that's my issue with the NFL is I think sometimes they're kind of, and teams in general. I'm not even going to talk about the NFL. I mean, teams will be very quick to cut a player in the case of Matt Ariza based on allegations because he was a punter and they didn't want to deal with the drama or the circus that followed a punter. They would not have, Pittsburgh wouldn't have cut TJ Watt based on allegations. Bills wouldn't have cut Josh Allen based on allegations. So each player is different. And I think that needs to get out of it. If you're going to hold one to a standard, you got to hold them all to the same standard. That's all.
Yeah, but I know what you're saying, David, and I agree. But I mean, we just have to be adults about this a little bit, and knowing that the NFL is a business and they're big names, their quarterbacks, whatever, they're their business. A cornerback is not exactly their business. So, I mean, I totally agree with what you're saying. It should be across the board. You do this is what happens. That's just not the case. The NFL is such a crappy.
It's just the microcosm of life outside of football.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. All right. So before we go on, please remember to like, subscribe, share, and turn on your notifications so you get all the latest from the Couch Sports Talk Radio. Okay, so our second story, a tragic one, is the Vikings rookie Kyrie Jackson was killed in a car crash. He was the fourth round pick in the 2024 draft. Not the fourth pick. He was drafted in the fourth round. It is believed that an impaired driver of an Audi was traveling at a high rate of speed, hit the car that he was not driving. He was an occupant of, and they then turned around, hit another car and went off the road, hit several tree stumps, and all three occupants of the car Jackson was occupying were pronounced dead at the scene. So often we get these horror stories of, these kids who get drafted in the NFL, and they just do something stupid. Like, is it Riggs or Ruggs from the Raiders, doing 153 miles an hour and, killing that poor girl. This is something that, he wasn't doing anything wrong. And because someone decided to do something stupid, he paid for it, and after working his whole life, he finally achieves his dream and really never gets to see it. It's a shame. Anyone have anything they want to add about that?
Just, again, no words. And again, the saddest part about all this is because he was doing nothing wrong. Do you notice how quickly the story went away? You notice how
I had to look for it again today. Really look for it.
You notice how quickly nobody's talking about it. Yet if he would have been the driver of that vehicle, the story would have taken on a life. And that's the sad part is, everybody focuses so much on negativity with these players because everybody expects them to be above everybody else. Everybody expects them to be superhuman. Everybody expects them to be an example. And so many times behind the scenes, you have no idea what kind of example these people are to their communities, to their families, to the things that they do. They're just young men who love the game of football. And it's a shame. It truly is, because this guy had a future. He had a career ahead of him. He could have been a great player. He might not have been a great player. But besides that, the fact that you work hard all your life to fulfill a dream, to have it snuffed out by somebody who decided that they thought drinking alcohol and driving was a lot better than, being smart and responsible. And that's the sad part, I don't know if you saw the pictures from TMZ, but when I saw that vehicle and what happened to it, there was no way anybody was surviving that crash at all. It was awful. So condolences to him and his family, friends, teammates. It was awful.
Eric, anything?
Yeah, I mean, it's terrible because it's not about Jackson the corner at Oregon or for Minnesota. It's about Jackson the human being. We dedicate our whole life to our jobs, to our what we do. But really, what really matters at the end of the day that people forget about all the time is who we are as human beings, what we do, what we represent. And so, it's really sad that a young guy like that, loses his opportunity to make that impact on the world, to, lose everything that potentially that he live the life that he should have been able to live. So yeah, I mean, it's sad. It tears me up. And it's a reminder, when we're here on the earth, we do take care of yourself, take care of your family, and live for your family, because really at the end of the day, that's what matters.
Yeah, absolutely. And, so many people talk about how much money football players make and everything, but they also devote a lot of time to, helping their community. And I don't think that ever gets focused on enough. I mean, once a year they talk about who's going to win Walter Payton Man of the Year, and that's really about it. And Thanksgiving and Christmas, typically they show, the guy getting out there and doing something. But they do a lot for their communities also. So maybe this poor kid was going to do something great, not only in football but in his community, and help people out. But we'll never have a chance to know that. All right. So let's go to a little less depressing news. Dak Prescott was walking around the boot late last week. It's just a minor foot sprain. He said it's not going to affect anything, for the season. When I first heard about it, I was like, oh, my God, the guy's not under contract. And here we go, it's a big nothing burger, but, does anyone want to even discuss it?
Well, all I'll say real quick about it is, listen, what happened to him, not only did he tear the ligaments in his ankle and, compound fracture his ankle. Okay.
Hip drop tackle. That was a hip drop tackle.
Yeah. Well, yeah, sure. But more importantly, let me just say this. In 2016, Sean, we live up in the mountains, right? So you understand that when there's no snow, but when it gets cold up here, you develop condensation on your vehicle, okay? And when it's cold, you get that little ice that freezes around your door. And sometimes you can't open your door. Even you try to open it, even though it's unlocked, it won't open. Well, in 2016, I was late for work, and I decided, hey, I need to kick my door to get the ice to get it unstuck. Well, I kicked my door and I gave myself a high ankle sprain. And when I did that, that was 2016. It is now 2024. I still feel that from time to time. So if Dak Prescott needs to wear a walking boot every once in a while to deal with and manage the pain, he's a professional football player. Your injury doesn't just magically disappear after a couple of years, especially when you do what you did to not only the bone, but the ligaments in your ankle. So who cares if he had to wear a walking boot? Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Eric.
You got it.
We don't have to touch very long, other than Dak needs to take care of Dak, because if Dallas is not going to take care of Dak long term, he needs to look out for his future this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Agree.
Yeah, there's some news stories going around about how he's like more in control than we believe about his contract. But I mean, if he does good, Cowboys say, "Hey, we want to sign you." He can say, "Hey, I'm gonna shop the market, baby. You didn't want to take care of me," so he does have that leg up.
Hey, Sean, do you mind if I just go off script for 1 second? Because I'm going to ask you a question. Because this was something that Jeffrey was talking about, and it's been mentioned in a couple places, on Pro Football Talk, and on there was a podcast. I forget who was actually doing it, or it's a national show. But what are your thoughts on the possibility of Jerry Jones getting ready to sell the Cowboys? You think that's why they didn't really go all in and spend the money that people thought they were going to spend? Maybe they're actually trying to offload the Cowboys to, like they said, there were reports of Saudi Arabian, whatever, those business, whatever they are, the
I don't really buy the Saudi Arabia thing. I will. I did kind of skim over the story that he's possibly thinking about it, or his son works for the organization. I don't see him doing it. I mean, granted, if he did sell the Cowboys, I'm thinking he's going to get $10 billion. I mean, if the Commanders got 6 point something billion, I don't think $10 billion is out of the question for the Cowboys. Probably one of the most recognizable franchises ever. Anyway, I don't know. I think if his kid wants to continue, I think the kid will end up running it. But it would be smart for him to. And I'm not trying to be political here. All I'm saying is, after the loss in the playoffs, Jerry Jones speaking looked a lot like Joe Biden in the debate the other night. I mean, I was exactly like this guy. He doesn't have it. He's lost it. And that's kind of all I think. I just don't see him doing it. Eric, you have any thoughts on that?
I don't have a whole lot. That if his heart's not invested at this point in winning and doing the crazy fun things that he's done in his life, and he's ready to just go buy an island and go right off into the sunset. Go right off into the sunset. I support that, and it sounds like he's ready for that.
David, what do you think?
I think in a lot of ways, I think the best way to sell your team is to divest a lot of high-priced assets, so you can maximize your money. And so again, and this is the problem though, is that from a football player cost perspective, the owner pays some money out of his pocket, but he doesn't really pay anything out of his pocket because the salary cap is basically covered through TV revenue and revenue from your stadium. But the less you have to spend in revenue for players is the more money you pocket from the revenue from your stadium. So when I guess I look at it like it's a very good possibility, just because I saw what Ralph Wilson and the Buffalo Bills were doing for years before he passed away, and then after he passed away, investing very little into the team from a player and cost perspective, and trying to sell hope and trying to drum up the market for this football team. So again, it wouldn't shock me at all to see Jerry Jones decide that it was time to move on, because I really don't think his son wants to do it on a full-time basis. I think he's involved because his father's involved, but I think that, again, they could just go and sail off in the sunset with $10 billion and do whatever they want to do. I don't think it's a passion for Steven like it was for Jerry. So
Yeah, and Jerry just kind of stepped in it when he got there. He made a couple lucky moves, and then he killed the franchise again. But the Cowboys actually are responsible for 16% of the merchandise sold for the NFL. That's huge. If every team was equal, it'd be 3%.
Yep.
They're at 6. I mean, just merchandise alone, they're earning $1.4 billion a year.
Yep.
They're probably worth more than $10 billion.
Oh, I'm sure they are.
But anyway, we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting to see. Maybe if we all three of us combine our money, we can be the proud owners of the Dallas Cowboys.
We can get a jersey.
Yeah, you guys can't even buy a freaking shirt. Eric did though. So
I'll get a shirt.
I'm going to take the little money we have from our merchandise sales and buy you guys shirts. But before we move on to buy or sell real quick, our friends at Applebee's wanted me to remind you that they have 50-cent mozzarella sticks for a limited time. So for the low price of $22.50, you can enjoy 6 mozzarella sticks. It's because the other $19.50 goes for the 4-pack of Charmin Ultra, because you're going to need the softest TP you ever had to get through it. Applebee's, eating Hizzy in the neighbor Hizzy. Thank you.
You are too much. That's all I can say, Sean. You are too much. Someday we're going to get a letter from the FTC telling us to cease and desist truly from Applebee's.
Probably. That's kind of what I'm going for.
There you go.
So you guys want to do buy or sell real quick, and then we'll go through each of the teams of the AFC West, and you guys can tell me if they're going to win or lose a game.
Yeah, we can.
All right, let's load up and let's
maybe me and Eric will get into a feisty debate just so he can end his night on a good note.
There you go. All right, throw on the intro, man.
I'd buy that for $1.
Let's buy it. I'm buying it. I'm buying it. I'm buying.
They're selling, Mortimer.
Look, lady, whatever you're selling, I ain't buying, yo.
Well, you idiot. Get back in there at once and sell.
All righty. Can you bring up my slides?
I can.
Okay, so these 5 are coming from StadiumRant.com. I am kind of running out of these buy or sells, so I'm going deeper and deeper to the internet. I will have my own personal buys and sells coming up so we can see, right before the season starts. But StadiumRant.com, I've never heard of it. I found it the site today. It's not bad. It's kind of like us, just a startup. So their first one was Drake London hits double-digit touchdowns in 2024. Eric, are you buying or selling?
I agree with Mr. Price. I'm going to buy it because he's got Kirk Cousins, who is really good at 1 p.m. on Sundays.
Yeah, I think this year I could probably buy that. I think they're going to be a little more diverse offensively, and I think they're going to find ways to get London open. So, yep, buy it.
Okay. Well, I'm buying it just because, so he gets 10 touchdowns, 11 touchdowns. Well, that's double digits. That's not hard in 17 games. He can get one every other game or almost every other game. So, all right. Well, we will we're all 3 of us bought that one. Okay. Buy or sell, the Bills still win the division. David.
I'm still buying this. Not as a Bills fan, because I've said this for a long time. It's just, to me, it's about consistency. It's about continuity. And I think Josh Allen elevates receivers around him. I mean, regardless of what we lost, John Brown and Cole Beasley came in and had their best years as football players the first year they played with Josh Allen. And so I just look at continuity as being key in this situation. And Buffalo does play well against Miami. They're one of their chief rivals for the division. Buffalo and the Jets usually split, and I think Buffalo wins 2 against New England. So I still say the Bills win this division. It's not going to be easy. They're not going to cakewalk. It's going to be tough. It'll probably be by a game, but I think they still win the division.
All right. Well, I will say that this website's a lot better than the Sports Illustrated 100 one we did where we sold everything. Yeah, exactly, Anthony. I'm going to sell this. Not that I don't think it's possible. I think with the pieces Miami added, and with, I still think the Jets. People aren't really taking the Jets seriously because of what happened last year. So the Jets could have a very, very good season, and I think Eric's going to agree that. I think Eric believes that the Jets are going to win that division. So, Eric, what do you think?
Fiery debate. We don't even have to wait to.
I know. Thanks.
So here's the deal. Jeff will sing the swan song about how they're fifth in this and fifth in that, but they still found a way to be 6-6 and have to win 5 in a row to win the division. And they were fortunate on some of those games to win it because of just lack of good execution from coaching at the end of games. So their coach finds ways to put them in positions to lose. Now they have a lesser team. I don't see it. This will be a 9-8 year, and the coach gets fired at the end of the year. Jets win by Thanksgiving.
Wow, I certainly hope so. All right, so
I disagree.
I would figure you would. Buy or sell? Texans lose in the divisional round again. I'm going to buy this. I think they're a good team. I think a little Dennis Green is in order here. If you want to crown their ass, crown their ass. That's why we play the game. I think they're a talented team, and I think in a couple of years, another year or two, they're going to be amazing. Just going into the divisional round, I'm hoping they're going to face either the Jets or Kansas City. And I can see that being a problem. There's a lot of people talking about the Colts in that division. I'm not buying that. Richardson's got to show me something, but at this point, I'm buying this. I think they'll make it to the playoffs and they'll lose. They'll win the wild card and then they'll lose the division. Eric?
So for those of us that are following the chat, if you're able to follow the chat in the group here, I have them losing the divisional round as well. I'll stick with that. I would have liked them more had they kept their young receivers and not added who they added. I think that will stunt the growth of some of the guys there, and it will force kind of the action to go to the certain player who shall not be named, who I said would get traded, who I was right. I think that kind of messes with the chemistry. I do think their division stinks. I do think they win by default in the division, but I do think they have the chemistry issues will come up a lot this year, and I think they have. I would have liked them had they just kept their young core as they were.
Okay, my hope is this, okay? My hope is that C.J. Stroud was not a fluke because, as we know, as I've said, a rookie quarterback coming in and having the amount of success he had is an exception. It's not the norm. Okay. We have a tendency to crown these people as franchise quarterbacks after 1 year. And then, you want to see it after you want to see sustained success over the course of, a couple of years. I hope CJ Stroud isn't that. I hope they didn't overload that offense with too many options. Because, again, I think C.J. Stroud did extremely well with the options that he had. Now you bring in a Stephon Diggs, you bring in a Joe Mixon, you still have Dameon Pierce, you have the other 3 receivers that you had drafted who were young, and the ones you had in Nico Collins, you have Tank Dell, Xavier Hutchinson. On top of that, I think you can overload a quarterback and make him almost have to think too much. So I'm hoping that the Texans didn't do that. Again, I think they win their division by default. But again, sometimes I think less is more, especially for a young quarterback. I think sometimes they perform better when they're not made to, when they act instinctively as opposed to dealing with thought process after thought process and where to go with the ball. So I will buy that they lose the division, but I wouldn't count the Jags or the Colts out per se. But I'm really hopeful that CJ Stroud is the real deal.
Well, I will say the one last thing, and then we'll move on to the next one. But the one thing that 31 NFL teams have that they didn't have last year at this time, they got a lot of film. A lot of film. So they're going to kind of figure things out. All right. So Marvin Harrison Jr. will be top 5 in the NFL in receiving yards. Eric, you buying or selling?
At some point in his career, yes. This year?
No, 2024, this coming year.
No. Sell.
Okay.
Not until he gets a better quarterback. I don't think Kyler Murray can ever put a receiver in the top 5 in receiving yards.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Unless Kyler all of a sudden goes, crazy, but he likes to run a lot, and there's still not a good team. So
that's Call of Duty, more studying.
Selling that fast. Okay. I'm hoping he's on the same one we are. Okay, so the last buy and sell. Jordan Love will lead the NFL in touchdown passes. David, you buying or selling this?
That's tough. I mean, I could see it. Again, it's the second-year thing. It's kind of like a CJ Stroud thing. I mean, people are going to have more film on Jordan Love this year that they didn't have last year. He's got young receivers. I'm going to tentatively sell this, but it almost wouldn't shock me if he was at the top or very close to it. But I'm going to sell this one. I'm iffy, but I'll sell it.
All right. I myself am also going to sell. Yeah, he's going to be at the top. I think he's very gifted. I agree with the tape comment. I don't see, it is possible for him to do it, but I just think there's so much more going on in the league this year. And there's a lot of other capable people that it's going to be close, but I don't think he's going to be top. I think he's going to be top 5, but I don't think he's going to be top 1. I think my man Aaron Rodgers is going to take it this year. Go ahead, Eric.
So I don't disagree. I think Aaron Rodgers does probably end up winning it. But I'll say this. I think Jordan Love leads the NFC in touchdown passes. And I think he wins the MVP. But I'm going to sell it because I'm going to take the field. But he'll probably be top 5, probably maybe lead the NFC. And I think he wins MVP, and I think the Packers won their division.
All right. Yeah. If that's a Caleb Williams, I'd be selling that so hard. But okay, so we are less than 2 months away from the start of football season.
Hey,
David,
I'm gonna ask you guys: are we done with buy and sell?
Buy and sell is done.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you guys one because KD, our man KD, who isn't here tonight, had a prior engagement. Okay, he does a weekly Ravens sit rep where he kind of goes through some Ravens things, and he asked the question, and I'm going to ask you because it was kind of interesting, and I think I've asked it before, but so I'll bring this up: buy or sell, guys. Does a quarterback or does a receiver, a gifted receiver, need an elite quarterback to perform, to reach his potential? Or does the receiver need that quarterback to reach his potential?
I don't think so. I mean, it definitely helps. It helps, they'll have better numbers with an elite quarterback. But if you're a good receiver and you're good at running routes, you're good at getting open, it could, it doesn't have to be the best back there. Obviously Devontae Adams was great in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers, who goes to the Raiders, and he kind of his numbers weren't as good. Is he still an elite receiver? Absolutely. I wouldn't want to have to go against him. I would say it definitely helps.
Didn't he still have over 100 catches for the Raiders in each of his years there?
Yeah, but he didn't have the touchdowns and the yards. But he still had a ton of receptions, and that's kind of goes along with what I'm saying. You can still get open. So, if you got somebody back there who can throw a ball, it doesn't have to be the best, So,
Eric, what are your thoughts?
So the question is does an elite receiver need a quarterback? That's correct? Because Bailey
Does a receiver need a quarterback to reach his potential?
an elite quarterback.
No, because Devontae Adams proved that. Because that's a great example. I heard Sean talking about it. He's had some great years. I think it helps. I think like the combination of AB and Ben was fantastic, and I don't think AB reaches full AB level before he went psychotic without Ben. I think they kind of fed off each other, and so I think that relationship helps a lot. But Justin Jefferson's another example. I mean, he did fantastic while he's healthy. And Minnesota really didn't have any great quarterbacks last year. So I do think a great receiver is going to be great regardless, but they do reach their full potential when they have a competent quarterback.
I think it's two things that a great receiver needs to be great. Well, three things. First, they need targets, obviously, but more importantly, I think there's two aspects that I do think a quarterback makes a receiver better. You got to have a competent quarterback. And I'll say this, and I'm only using this as an example, Eric. I'm not using this as a knock, because personally, I think George Pickens is a fantastic wide receiver. I think George Pickens could have elite numbers if he didn't have Kenny Pickett years 1 and 2 in his career. And that's just a fact, or 1 year. So the year he had Kenny Pickett, okay. I mean, he did good things, but I think he could have been even better. He's had him for 2.
Yes, 2, and he had 1,200 yards last year, but
I know. I understand. I'm just saying, based on the quarterbacking of Kenny Pickett, I think when you look at what he did with a quarterback of Kenny Pickett's caliber, I think if you put him on a team with the Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, those kind of guys, without the Stephon Diggs and their other number ones there or whatnot, I think his numbers could have been better. I mean, from a touchdown yard.
I don't disagree. So it's a damn shame they didn't play Mason longer, because boy, he looked a lot different when he had a quarterback that could actually throw.
Yeah, but we moved the needle on this because you asked about does it need an elite quarterback?
Well,
Kenny Pickett was not a competent quarterback.
I meant does a receiver. So I might have said it wrong, but
hold on, Nate, hold on 1 second. Let me take this time to apologize to everybody on the show and apologize to all the viewers, the whole one of you tonight. I was wrong on Kenny Pickett. I had it incorrect. He's not a competent quarterback.
Oh, wow.
But again, I'm going to say this, though. But more importantly, I think what they need outside of all of those is I think they need a fantastic play caller. They need an offensive coordinator who puts them in the right positions, who puts the offense in the right positions to utilize the skills of said receiver. So it's not just a 1 or 2 aspect of it. I think you have to have a collective where your coordinator understands your receiver, understands your quarterback, understands where to put them, where to give them the best opportunities. And so I think it's a collaborative. I think to ask that one question and expect an answer, because look at, you're a receiver in the NFL. You played at receiver in college. You can catch the ball. If you've played that position, you can catch the ball. You need a quarterback to throw it to you, but you need the coordinator on offense to get you in those positions and optimize and get the best out of you. So I believe it's a collaborative effort of all three of those people. So,
and Anthony had a great point. Look at Wes Welker. Brady made him great. It's absolutely true. And I believe Julian Edelman's the same way.
Right.
And
I also believe that that's the coordinator's job to get them in those positions and to understand the talent that they have and how they work within that offense.
Yeah. And it's got to do a lot with work ethic and desire. But I'm going to say one thing. This is off the subject real quick. But every time that clip comes on with New Heights podcast, when they have Wes Welker on, hey, Edelnut, I have watched that probably 20 times, and every single time it's on when he's talking about Randy Moss, Edelman when he met him, and get my hot tub about 102, 103, get my Gatorade.
Hey, but I'm going to give you one more guy. One more guy, Sean.
Okay.
And it's a shout out to your Jets, because this guy wasn't a big guy. He wasn't a tall guy. But I'm telling
my boy Wayne
Corbett. I mean, Vinny Testaverde, I wouldn't call him an elite quarterback, but him and Vinny and the offensive coordinator, they put him in the right situations, and they were able to utilize him a lot like Welker and Brady and Edelman and Brady. And that was a great coordinator with a quarterback who knew that receiver, and the receiver knew exactly what he had to do. And so I think, like I said, I think it's the collaborative whole of the three units that work together to get that guy in the best position.
He's on my Jet Wall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
I got to have Corbett, and he's probably going to be the next jersey I get.
Yeah.
Autographed. He'll move on. I'm working on Gastineau, although Gastineau lives less than an hour from here, and I've actually talked to him on the phone, which was pretty funny.
Nice.
I'll quick tell the story. So he calls into the hotel, and he wants to put up his family, and I'm like, okay, can I get your last name? He's like, Gastineau. And like, okay, what's your first name? He's like, Mark. And I'm just like, dude, I'm a Jet fan. Don't be doing this to me. He goes, no, that's me. I'm like, oh, shit. I'm talking to Mark Gastineau right now. Like, I lost all track of everything. Really nice guy, though. He's really cool. Okay, so let's go to the schedules here. So I'm going to give you guys – okay, Eric, pick a number from 1 to 4.
Pick 4. 4.
Okay. David, number from 1 to 3.
1.
Okay. And 2 or 3, Eric?
3.
Okay. So, David, you have 1 and 2. You're going to go twice in a row.
Great.
Okay. So, here we go. And you have the Denver Broncos.
5 and 12. There you go.
well, let's see, because I'm going to go through the games, and you're just going to say win or lose.
Okay,
right?
maybe it'll be less. Go ahead.
All right. Opening night, they are at Seattle. Well, opening day at Seattle.
Wait a minute. No, that's a loss.
Okay. Then they have Pittsburgh at home.
Should I say win just to turn Eric's head red? No, I think that'll be a loss too.
Okay. Then they go to Tampa Bay.
Loss.
Then they go to the Jets.
Is Aaron Rodgers still quarterback in week 4? I mean, that's the problem.
Zach Wilson could be starting quarterback at Denver in week 4.
Yeah, Jared Stidham will probably be the quarterback in Denver. Also, that's loss.
Okay, then they have the Raiders at home.
At home,
Yep.
I'll give them a win. At home.
Okay. Then they got the Chargers at home.
Man, that'll be a loss.
Okay. Then they go to New Orleans.
Sean Payton homecoming game. You know what? I'm going to say they pull off an upset in New Orleans.
All right. Then they have Carolina at home.
That's a win.
Okay. Then they go to Baltimore.
Loss.
They go to Kansas City.
Loss.
They have Atlanta at home.
What week is that?
That's going to be week 11 on November 17th,
So
2:05 in the afternoon.
Atlanta and Denver, where the snow might be falling. You know what? I'm going to call that a win just because of the weather.
Okay. I'm going to go back to the New Orleans thing because just want to let you know they're at New Orleans and it is a Thursday night game.
Yeah.
Does that change anything for you?
No.
Okay. So you got to win in Atlanta at home. They win. Then they on the 24th of November they go to Las Vegas.
That's a loss.
Then they have Cleveland at home.
That's going to be. I'm going to give them a loss.
Okay, then they have a bye week. Coming off the bye week, they have Indianapolis at home.
Win.
Okay, then the following week they go to at Chargers.
Loss.
Okay, and then they are at Cincinnati.
Loss.
Final game of the season, they have Kansas City at home.
I don't think Kansas City has anything to play for at that point, and I think it's a win. I think they beat Kansas City with their second string team in the game.
All right, you got them going 6-9.
What's that?
I'm sorry, 6-11.
6-11. Yeah,
Yep.
okay.
Not bad. Okay, so David, now you get number 2, the Kansas City Chiefs.
All right.
Okay, week 1, they're at. They have the Ravens at home on Thursday night.
That's a loss.
Okay. Then the following week, they have the Bengals at home.
They win.
Then they go to Atlanta, and they play Sunday Night Football.
Win.
Okay. Then they are at the Los Angeles Chargers.
Man, that could be a good game. Harbaugh. That's tough. I'll say it's a win, but I don't know, man. Kansas City's offense is not that good, but I'll say it's a win.
Chargers have no wide receivers, Dave.
I know.
All right. And then they have the Saints at home on Monday Night Football.
Win. That's
Win?
a win. Win.
Oh, win. Okay. Then they have a bye week. Then they're at the San Francisco 49ers.
Loss.
Sunday afternoon. Okay. Then they are at the Las Vegas Raiders.
I say that's a win because I don't know who Vegas's quarterback is going to be at that point. So I'll say that's a win.
Then they have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at home on Monday Night Football.
Depends on what big. I'm going to say that's a loss.
Okay. Then they have the Denver Broncos at home.
Win.
Week 11, they go to the Buffalo Bills.
Loss.
The next week, they go to the Carolina Panthers.
Win.
All right. Then they have the Raiders at home at 2 o'clock on Black Friday, Amazon Prime.
Win.
Then they are on Sunday Night Football the following week they have the Chargers at home.
At home, win.
Then they go to the Cleveland Browns the following week.
Man, you know what? That's a loss.
Okay. Then they have the Houston Texans at home on 12/21 Sunday afternoon.
At home?
At home.
You know what? I'm going to say that's a loss. I don't think they're offensively they can keep up.
All right. Then on Christmas Day on Netflix, they are at the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Man, I'm telling you, this is going to be tough. I mean, I'm not all that impressed with Kansas City's offense. I know Steelers have a good defense. I just, man. A 2-point victory.
They're going to win. Okay.
Yep.
And the final week of the season, they're at the Broncos.
Win. No, I'm going to say loss. I don't think.
Okay,
Well,
so just
wait a minute. No, if I gave them mine.
For Broncos and you gave them.
Yeah, so I'm going to take a loss because I said the Broncos win, but I also said Kansas City wasn't going to be playing for anything. But I don't know. Listening to that schedule, they might be playing for they could be playing for the division based on their schedule.
All right. So you got the Chiefs at 10-7. All right. Eric, polish up that old head right there. You ready to go?
Let's go.
All right. Week 1, the Los Angeles Chargers.
We're doing the Raiders, right?
Raiders is last.
Okay, so
You're doing the Chargers.
I'm doing the Chargers. Okay, so week 1, who do we have?
They have the Raiders at home.
Loss.
They are at the Panthers week 2.
Win.
They're at the Steelers week 3.
Loss.
They have the Chiefs at home week 4.
Loss.
Then they have the bye. Coming off the bye, they are at the Broncos.
Win.
Then the next week, they're at the Cardinals on Monday Night Football.
Win.
Then they have the Saints at home.
We're going to go loss.
Then they are at the Browns.
Loss.
Then they have the Titans at home.
Win.
They have the Bengals at home.
I don't think Cincinnati's very good. Win.
Okay, then on Monday Night Football, Ravens at home.
Loss.
Then they go to the Falcons.
Loss.
Then they go to the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football.
Loss.
Then they have the Buccaneers at home.
I just don't think the Chargers are very good. We'll give them a win.
Okay, then they have the Broncos at home.
Win.
Then they go to the Patriots on the New Year's weekend.
I got New England 9-8, so I got New England win.
Got a win on them. Okay. And then the final game of the season, they're at the Raiders.
So, correction, I got New England winning that game against the Chargers, so I have a loss for the Chargers there.
Okay.
And then just want to make sure. And then the final week of the year, they go to where are they going?
At Raiders.
Yeah, they lose.
Okay. 7-10.
Yeah, sounds right.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I don't think they're going to be.
I don't think it'll be
that
very
great.
good. Yeah,
Now we go on to the last, the Raiders.
this will be fun.
Oh, yeah. Well, obviously, you said that they were going to – they go to the Chargers. So you have them winning that one because you had them losing.
Yeah, so I've got the Raiders winning both those games.
Okay. Let me find. Well, I'll just find it when I'm there. Okay. So week 2, they go to the Baltimore Ravens.
I'm going to go with an upset. I think the Raiders win.
Wow. All right. Then they got the
You're a
Panthers.
hopeful man. Now you're a Pittsburgh fan.
I don't know. It happens early on. I mean, the Raiders aren't a terrible team. I think they have a good defense.
I think their defense is very stout. It's the offense that's got me questioning. I just
Right.
don't know who's under center. Okay, so week 3, they have the Carolina Panthers at home.
I'm going to go 3-0 surprising Raiders. They win that one.
Okay. And then the next week, they have the Cleveland Browns at home.
They lose to Cleveland.
Okay. Then they go to the Denver Broncos.
They go to the Denver Broncos. I'm going to say they crap the bed. They lose that one.
All right. They're 3-2 at this point. Then they have the Steelers at home.
They lose.
Okay. Because you fucking need that game.
They beat the Ravens and then lose to the Steelers. Come on.
I can't wait till we get to the AFC East and do this.
Yeah.
Okay. So week 7, they go to the Los Angeles Rams.
I got them winning that game.
Okay. Then the following week, they go to, they have Kansas City Chiefs at home.
All right. So they split with Kansas City, so they win one of the games. So they win that one.
They win that one. Okay. Then November 3rd, they go to the Cincinnati Bengals.
I'm going to give – I think I gave the Chargers one. I think the Bengals are inconsistent and have a good game. I got the Bengals in this one.
Okay. Then they have a bye. Coming off the bye, they go to Miami Dolphins.
I got Miami.
Okay. Then they have the Broncos at home.
Win.
Then they are at the Kansas City Chiefs. So you want to give them a loss
Kansas
there?
City wins, yep.
Then they are at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
God, do I believe in Baker? I'm going to go with Tampa Bay.
Okay, another loss. All right, then on Monday Night Football, the Raiders have the Falcons at home.
So I'm going to go they upset the Falcons and win that one.
Okay. Then the next week they go to they have Jacksonville at home on December 22nd.
Yeah, Jacksonville sucks. If our Jacksonville fans listening, they're going to stink this year. So I'm got the Raiders.
Then they are at the New Orleans Saints.
New Orleans is like the toughest team, don't you think, Dave? It's like, what the hell do we think of New Orleans?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what Derek Carr you get. If you
God
get
almighty. I don't know how to figure them out. That's the hardest one. Every time you're like New Orleans, like give me New Orleans because I think if Carr's okay, they're going to be okay. But it's really that's a tough one.
Revenge game. They're going after Derek.
Yeah, well, he's going after them. So
that defense, I don't know.
That's a tough game.
Yeah.
It's a really tough game. Give me the Saints.
All right, and you've already called the Raiders at the Chargers. You said the Raiders going to win that one. So 4, 5, 6. You have them going 9 and 8.
9 and 8's fair. I think that's fair where that team is at.
I agree. I think all these are very,
Yeah, I don't think Kansas City's the juggernaut of that division. I think they've lost a lot offensively. I just, until they get reliable receivers, I mean, you don't know what's going to happen with Rashee Rice if he plays the year, if he gets suspended before, during, whatever. And so I think that's always going to be hanging over their head a little bit. So I don't think the AFC West is as much of a pushover division as it was. I mean, with the exception of Denver. I think the other 3 teams, the Chargers with Harbaugh, I think you're going to see a different kind of football. And again, I don't see Kansas City this year as being that dominant team.
Wouldn't it be something if the Raiders with Minshew are in a similar spot where the Colts were, where at the end of the year it's Derek Carr and the Saints, and Minshew misses the play against the same way. Because I do agree. I think 10 wins. I don't think you're getting two teams in that division. If I was a betting man, I would bet heavily that AFC West is not going to get two teams in. It's winnable for the Raiders. I mean, they could win it. I think they're going to have to beat Kansas City twice to do it, because I think one of those teams is going to be 9-8, one of them is going to be 10-7. And my big thing with Kansas City is, I know Kelsey's motivated and Mahomes is great, but how much does the rest of the team have the eye of the tiger after being on top of the mountain? Because money, fame, and fortune, how many times do you see a team all of a sudden slip up because they lose that extra millisecond because they're not quite as focused as they were the year before?
I guarantee you that the extra wild card team comes out of either the AFC East or the AFC North.
It'll be one of those two teams, because both those divisions are really good, and I think top to bottom, I think you could say 14. You guys count out New England, but I think New England's coming, and
they might be coming, but they're not there yet. Maybe not this year, but not this year. Maybe next, but I just don't see it. They need more offensive playmakers, and they need a couple playmakers on defense. Not that their defense is horrible, but they still need. Christian Gonzalez, the defensive back, if he's back 100% healthy, I think, what did he do? His ACL last year?
Mm-hmm.
So, you understand. I know he's younger than Von Miller, but an ACL is an ACL, and you're a cornerback. You still have to cut fast and do all that stuff. So, again, I think I think if he can come back and get back to what he started out to be from a defender, I think their defense is going to be a lot tougher, but it's going to take them a little bit. Again, I don't look at New England so much as a threat this year, but I think if they add some more playmakers and keep going forward, I think the next couple of years, that AFC East is going to be tough.
I really like the draft choices at wide receiver that they put around the quarterback, and I think they're going to be, even one of the receivers was picked in the 4th round. I think they're going to mesh very well together. I think they're going to grow together. I don't think they're a serious threat this year, but in 2 years, they will. As soon as Rodgers decides to hang it up, that division will be wide open for those other teams.
Sure.
I still go back into obscurity. I know that. I'm preparing.
But you got Tyrod Taylor for the long run.
Yeah.
Well, my biggest thing for the Jets is it's all going to depend on the health of Aaron Rodgers.
And you can say that about every team. The Bills are going to depend on the health of Josh Allen.
Look, the only reason
Josh Allen changed his name.
But I will, sure. But that's almost any team with any starting quarterback, and I get that. But I say that because look, and the only reason I say this, and I'm not defending, but here's the reality. Last year, the Bills had 8 starters on defense that missed significant portions of the season, and so they were able to still win the division even though they lost 8 starters, or played a major portion of the season without 8 quote-unquote starting players. You didn't have Trey White. You didn't have Von Miller. You didn't have Matt Milano. You didn't have your defensive tackle for a while. You didn't have Jordan Poyer. You didn't have Micah Hyde. You didn't have those guys, but you ended up winning a division. My thing is, what happened last year is you started out with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers went down. Your defense pretty much comes back intact, but without that quarterback there, you saw what happened to the offense. And so I'm just speaking from the standpoint of the health of Aaron Rodgers is going to be the key to the Jets' success.
Again, I'm not debating that at all. I don't think anyone would debate that.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would debate that. And for the sake of this show, I hope that, because Sean was cursed, that you guys get to see at least a few weeks of the Mitch Trubisky experience, because then you can say the health, or for the exception of the Steelers, who have 2 quarterbacks, every starting quarterback.
You have 1 quarterback and a guy who stood behind the center.
I'm just kidding with you. God, I hope you have Mitch, and God, I'm going to be on the show that week. And I'm going to talk.
You know what? here's my hope. This is my hope. My hope is that no players get hurt. I would love to have a season, which is impossible, but I would love for our teams in general, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, the Jets, Buffalo, I would love for there to be no injuries so that we could have a discussion at the end of the year based on 100% health about what these teams are, based on their starters from day 1 to day 17 and beyond. And then I could sit there and say, if you said to me after week 17, if you fielded the same 22 from the beginning of the season to the end of the season, and I did, and Sean did, and KD did, and then we had this discussion, there wouldn't be no, well, if TJ Watt didn't get hurt, or if Von Miller didn't get hurt, or if Josh Allen, or if Aaron Rodgers, or if Lamar Jackson, and then it could just be Eric, you come on the show, say, I told you Pittsburgh was better than Buffalo. It wouldn't be an argument because the proof is in the record. The proof is what.
So if that happens and Pittsburgh is better than Buffalo and I go 20-0, we're going to all sit there and watch the sunset over the Three Rivers on the Allegheny, and we're going to share some Iron City beer, and Jeff's going to give me that hug I've been missing my entire life.
Listen, if Pittsburgh goes 20-0, I will drive to Pittsburgh. I will get on the Monongahela River Bridge, and I will throw myself into it because I know that that's never going to happen. But I will do that. And the fact that I know that the Monongahela has a bridge.
We live in the real world here, people. We don't, it's not all butterflies and unicorns. All right. So let's stop with this shit. People are going to get hurt. It's going to hurt your team. That's the way it happens.
But I do got to take issue with that buy and sell thing about Buffalo because
God, Dave, I think it's going to be a transition year.
I don't know what the year is going to bring. So that's why I don't try to get in your debates. I just try to go by reason. And my one big reason for everything is, like I said, it's just about the teams that are good. It's kind of like how I said Kansas City isn't going to be that great. But the thing that they're good at is they're a consistent team from top to bottom, coaching staff and everything. They have the consistency. So we can look at a team and say, who the hell is Patrick Mahomes going to throw to? They got Xavier Worthy, and if Rashee Rice plays, okay, that's cool. But if Rashee Rice who do they got to throw to? Worthy, who's a rookie, and Travis Kelce. And then you look at the rest of their offense and you say, what is there to scare you about that?
Is Tony still there?
Yeah. So
there's a guy that does a great meme with Kadarius Toney and he does Mahomes' voice. If you've never seen him before, I hope you run into him on the reels. He's really funny. But I don't disagree with you, Dave. Just we don't have to go over this.
No, I'm not going. I'm always kidding.
I think Buffalo. I think there's some 61 million reasons why they're not as good as they are, and that's 4 quality starters that they can't pay because they have $61 million in dead cap. And I just don't. I think the coach consistently finds ways to play down to opponents, and his team is not as good if he consistently has his teams in those situations to win. For example, the Giants being 1 yard away, New England, Broncos. We can go over the entire. I think the coaching's an issue, and in order for you to get over the hump, you're going to have a bad year to get rid of him.
Well, and that's the thing, and I know we saw Sean's post on the thing about the Bills' stupid trades and stuff like that, which some of them were stupid, but again, at the time, I think you got to look at the time and when they happened, and so on and so forth, and what they were for, before you say it's a bad trade. I mean, person from the outside looking at it, sure, there could be bad trades. Bad trades are made in football all the time, okay? But the one thing that I'll say is what Buffalo did this year by eating the $61 million in dead cap was fantastic. Because guess what? Next year, they have that money to spend. And instead of hanging on to a guy you were going to get rid of next year, you ate it. And you said, we didn't have a lot of money to begin with. So instead of trying to rob Peter next year and then have another $14 million hung up in the cap, or $20 million in Stephon that we would have to eat next year, which would eat another portion of our cap, which would have given us 2 years of non-movement in free agency, except these outliers and whatnot. Just eat the money. Take it for what it is. Take Trey White, eat all the money, do what you got to do, and then go forward without all those big contracts. And so, I look at it as addition by subtraction.
Dave, 2025 could be your year, but you got to get through 2024. And so this year is going to be a year about those young guys developing and getting that experience so they can fill in with your higher priced free agents that you bring in next year.
Right. Absolutely.
All right. Well, you know what? Sometimes your team's just a big shit sandwich, and you just got to take a bite. And that's what it comes down to. Sure. So, all right. Unless there's anything else, I think we can wrap it up here. There's not a lot to talk about. I do want to do Jeopardy before the football season starts. So, in a couple of weeks, if we start getting some viewers back, I would love Anthony and Paul to come on and take on the two knuckleheads I have on the screen here. In a round of Jeopardy, and you can win T-shirts. I think Paul has one, or maybe it's Anthony. I don't know. But anyway, thank you for supporting us. ftcsports.etsy.com or something like that, or etsy.ft.
Oh, here, let me bring it up.
Yeah. We're begging for money because, we got the $73 we've been hanging on to for the last 9 months. So
interested
if we can make it into the 80s, then you're going to see some major changes. Total professional production and all that.
That is the site to go, the ftcsportstalkradio.etsy.com for a From the Couch Sports Talk Radio t-shirt or hoodie. Support your favorite podcast on Facebook. And if you have any comments or questions that you'd like to get into us without posting it in our group or our page, you can go right here to ftcsports1@gmail.com. We will get that, and we will respond to your questions. Anything you'd like to have on the show, anything you'd like for us to improve on the show, we are a show for you. So we hope you all tune back in. And if you have any comments, questions, ideas, things that you'd like to hear that we don't talk about,
buy or sells,
any buy or sells you want to put on there, feel free. Also, if you'd like to talk about dwarf tossing, which is a sport, or used to be a sport, we can talk about that too. We've done that before on this show. Actually, the other day, I was watching TikTok, and they had wheelchair boxing. I wanted to speak on that, but I was overruled. I thought it was a very interesting sport. But I just don't know how the knockout rule works unless they knock the wheelchair over. But it'd be an interesting concept. But anyway, folks, from all of us here at Sports Talk, Sean, Eric. Right. Hey, Sean, you know what? Sean? I'm going to do something. Because every week you're the host and you give one of us the last word. Tonight, Sean, in honor of just being the three of us, I'm going to let you have the last word.
All right. Well, thank you. Appreciate it. I am so excited for football season coming up. Can't wait. It's less than 2 months away. I'm chomping at the bit. But number one, I want to thank Paul and Anthony. Ever since I got on the show, this is about 1.5 years ago, they've consistently been on. Thank you for your support. And, we're trying to make changes to make the show better and get it moving a little more. Any suggestions you have, I'd love to hear it. But otherwise, that's really all I have to say. I thank you guys for giving me, a chance here to host this and to be part of it because, I was friends with David from disc golf, but, I got Eric now as a friend of mine, KD, I consider a friend of mine, Jeff, I consider a friend of mine, and Paul and Anthony, I've gotten to know you guys. Thank you. And we appreciate you guys spending the time with us. So hopefully next week we will see you again.
Yep. And I think this year, Sean, me and you should be doing some road shows.
We're gonna do road shows. We gotta do Arizona Cardinals. It makes me.
I think I should take you week 1, Sean, and I should take you down to the Bills backers bar for the Bills versus the Cardinals and show you what a little Buffalo hospitality is all about.
Oh boy.
Anyway, folks, y'all have a great night. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see y'all next week.